Welcome to the Healing Her Story podcast, a podcast where we reclaim our stories, reconnect with our bodies, and remember the wisdom we were never taught and yet always carried. I'm your host, Riva Jean-Paul, a trauma-informed somatic practitioner, menstrual cycle coach, interdisciplinary artist, and guide for women walking the path of healing, awakening, and becoming. This show is for the woman who's tired of holding it all together, for the one who's done the talk therapy, read the books, and tried to meditate her way through the pain, and is now ready to go deeper. We live in a world that asks so much of women, a world that rewards our silence, praises our productivity, and shames our sensitivity. The systems we've been raised in were not built for our bodies, our rhythms, or our truth. But here, we do things differently. Together, we explore the cycles of the natural world and the menstrual cycle, the medicine of somatics, the power of creative expression, and the radical act of slowing down. Each episode is a journey through personal reflections, seasonal rhythms, expert conversations, and the deeper layers of what it means to heal from the inside out. Because healing isn't about fixing what's broken, because I do not believe you are broken. It's about remembering who you are and reconnecting with the wisdom and the healing intelligence that lives inside of you. I am so glad you are here. Let's begin. Fighting for the voice of the womb, diving to the depths of my womb, singing the truth of my womb, trusting the phases of the moon. Hello, love. Welcome to this week's episode of the Healing Her Story podcast. If this is your first time here, welcome. I am so grateful and happy to have you here. If you are returning to the show, thanks so much for coming back and tuning in. I do not take your presence and your time and your energy for granted. And I thank you so much for showing up week after week to do this work, to explore how we can work with the natural rhythms and cycles of our bodies, of the natural world. And as we do that, we are doing so much more than just cycle syncing. We are embodying a different way of living and being and operating in this patriarchal world. As we are continuing to watch some systems literally crumble right before our eyes, and as there's more pain and suffering and violence and fear being spread through our collective, I truly believe that one of the most radical, revolutionary, life-changing things that you can do is to show up and do this exact work that we are doing here. So thank you, thank you, thank you. This week we are attuning to the week of July 7th, and the energy we're working with is that of the late waxing moon, which some of you may know by now if you've been here for a while is basically the full moon. You can think of the energy of the full moon not like a light switch that flips on and off, but more like a light dimmer that gradually builds and gradually releases. And so we can feel the energy of the full moon up to 3 days before and up to 3 days after. This full moon will reach its peak on Thursday, July 10th at 1:37 p.m. Pacific Standard Time in the sign of Capricorn. This is all happening while the sun is still in Cancer, which means we're dancing between two very different energies, emotional depth and grounded structure, the inner tides and the outer containers. So if you're feeling a little more intense than usual, or like your inner world is spilling out into the external, know that you're not alone. Maybe you've been sensing an urge to reorganize your life, to get outside, or to revisit the structures and systems that hold you. That's the Capricorn Full Moon doing her thing. And with Cancer still guiding the sun, you may also be craving emotional safety, mothering, or rest. This is a time of many things, but today I want to focus on 3 powerful themes: sensation, illumination, and lots of good information. We're going to explore that a little bit deeper. And before we do, I want to invite you to come into a minute of silence with me. We start the show off, these episodes, with this minute of silence every week. And the intention for that is to create a pause throughout your busy and full life. And in this pause is where we can really begin to sense into what is happening inside of ourselves, because there is a well of information inside of you, a well of wisdom inside of you that you have access to if you take the time to slow down and tune in. If you've been here for a while, you may be starting to get a sense of these rhythms, and maybe you can also begin to sense and maybe even track where you are in your inner rhythm. Maybe you're not in a late spring, maybe you're in more of a winter. And I really want to honor wherever you are. Sometimes our inner cycles and rhythms may not always align with the outer rhythms and cycles. And that doesn't mean anything's wrong. It's nothing you need to fix or nothing you need to worry about. It's just something to be aware of. And so I invite you to use this minute to do exactly that, to just come into more presence and awareness of yourself and all that is here and happening inside of you. And a minute may not be enough to do all of that, but we can at least start with just a little bit here at the top of the episode. Our 1 minute of silence will begin now. That was about a minute. I hope that you found that minute insightful and fruitful. And if you didn't, that's okay too. In my exploration, I noticed a few things. I noticed some Hey love, we're taking a quick pause in the episode because I want to make sure you know about something really special coming up. This is an offering that is really close and near and dear to my heart. As I've been working with women over the years, this is an underlying thread that I have seen cause so much of the pain and the suffering and the distress that women come to me with. So many of us felt like we were never truly seen, heard, or loved the way we needed growing up. And speaking for myself, I know that this can lead to cycles of overgiving and people-pleasing and doubting your worth. And sometimes I know it can feel like no matter how much healing work you do, you just can't seem to break free of them. And as you are now beginning to prepare to become a mother yourself, or maybe you are navigating the first few years of motherhood, or maybe you're just learning how to mother yourself or finding yourself mothering others in your life, you might be wondering how to break free from some of these cycles. If this is you, then I invite you to join me at Mending the Mother Wound. This is a free 3-day online immersion happening August 22nd to August 24th. This is a sacred space to tend to your earliest wounds, to love on your little one inside, and to begin mothering yourself in the ways that you've always needed. You'll experience trauma-informed breathwork, somatic meditations, gentle movement, reflection, and creative expression, all designed to help you feel safe enough to begin exploring some of these wounds inside of you, to begin unraveling from some of these patterns that are no longer serving you, and to begin to reconnect with the wisdom and the motherly energy that has always been inside of you. If you have been carrying emotional neglect, abandonment, or ancestral pain, know that you are not alone and that you don't have to carry it alone. This is one of the benefits and beauty of doing this work in community. This immersion is about beginning to rewrite the story of your mother. And you can register now by clicking the link in the show notes or visiting windsofchangesac.com. Recordings for this will not be available, so I encourage you to block out your calendar and try to join us live if you can. And I very much look forward to connecting with you there. Now, back to the episode. Little little pricks of sensation, we'll say. I don't know if I would call it quite painful, but just a little prick. And I noticed that at the bottom of my feet. And as I noticed that, it reminded me of another little prick I experienced earlier today in my shoulder. And also a little bit of breast tenderness that I experienced earlier today as well. And so I'm just noticing that and just being present with that and welcoming the things that are starting to bubble up inside of me, as I know my last inner winter was a little tough. I didn't get the amount of space and rest that I would like. And while it was a beautiful week of work, very fulfilling, deep work, fun work with kiddos, again, I just didn't get that physical rest and restoration that I needed. And so I know that this cycle might be a tricky one for me. And as I've been doing my own exploration with my studies and working with new clients, it's brought up some other layers that were quite unexpected. And so I've actually, knowing all of this, created a lot more support for myself this cycle. So I'm looking forward to getting that support and being held in my own container to move through the things that are starting to bubble up inside of me. All of that aside, it's been a really lovely week. I'm on a break between my summer camp program. We have 2 sessions that we do, one that is 2 weeks, and then we have 3 more 1-week sessions, which will begin the week after next. So I'm just trying to enjoy as much of this time and this space as I possibly can, connecting with you and getting these next episodes batched out and recorded while I'm in summer camp, doing some spring cleaning as I'm in my follicular phase, and just getting myself prepared for the things that I know are coming. So overall, doing okay. So that's me. That's where I'm at today. And I mostly just share those, one, to build a connection, of course, and also so that you can start to get a sense of how I track my inner rhythm. And I hope that you can learn how to do that more with yourself as I share my own process. As the energy of the moon builds and intensifies, you also might start to notice life becoming a bit more intense this week. If you're approaching ovulation, this might feel expansive and energizing. But if your cycle's been irregular, your stress has been high, like myself, or your rest inconsistent, then you might be feeling a little overwhelmed. And wherever you are is okay. Wherever you are, I invite you to notice, and maybe you noticed in our minute of silence today, what are the dominant sensations in your body right now? Maybe even taking a moment to just quickly scan the body and notice the sensation that might be standing out to you. For me, I've got this chronic discomfort that arises in my shoulder. It's sort of softened as I brought even just a little bit more attention to it, but it's definitely there. And you might be wondering why. Why do I need to tune into the dominant sensations in my body right now? Well, the full moon acts as a spotlight in our lives, and it's here to shine a light on the things that are out of balance or that need some readjustment, not just in our lives, but in our bodies, in our hearts, and in our psyches. The moon, I'll remind you, controls the tides of the ocean. And so it also influences our inner tides. And our bodies and our hearts and our psyches are very much tied to these inner tides. So that tight jaw, those aching shoulders, or that gut discomfort, they're not just symptoms, they're signals. What if your sensations weren't problems to be solved, but messages to be received? What if your anxiety, fatigue, IBS, emotional flooding were all forms of good information? When we shift from fixing to listening, we enter into a somatic dialogue, a space where your body is no longer a mystery, but a wise guide pointing you back to balance and harmony. What if, in fact, all of these symptoms were signs of health, signs that your body is working to get you back into an optimal state by any means necessary? Such wise and miraculous and magical bodies we have the opportunity and the honor and the privilege to live and be in. And yes, I know it can be hard to be in one. But when we can look at things in this way, it starts to become a little bit easier. When we look at things in this way, not only do you relieve some of the pressure of trying to figure it all out, you also begin to invite in curiosity. And with this curiosity, we can then look at everything as just good information. That's it. The dysfunction, the anxiety, the depression, the emotional flooding, the chronic pain, the IBS, it's all good information. When you can slow down and listen to this information, you can then use it to help make changes and choices in a way that goes beyond the mind, but in a way that truly honors the wisdom of your body. And that is the energy of the full moon, to come into the soma, the sensation, the expression, and to be embodied, or at least in a place of honoring all that is here. What you resist will only persist. So instead of casting things aside and shoving things down, what would it look like this week to carve out even just a little bit of time to slow down, to drop into your body and to be present with what is here. If you need support with that this week, you can find some free somatic meditations on Insight Timer in the show notes. Thanks so much for making it till the end of today's episode. Before you go, if this episode spoke to your heart, moved something in you, or offered a moment of clarity, or perhaps helped you to feel even just a little bit more seen or heard or understood, I invite you to please share this episode with a friend. Together, we create space for the feminine frequency to rise, not just in us as individuals, but in our families, in our communities, and ultimately in our collective. And this is how we do it, by sharing one story at a time, by having one conversation at a time, by taking one small step at a time. And if you're wanting to support the podcast even more, it truly helps to leave a 5-star rating and review. Your words help other women find this space, feel seen, and know that they're not alone on their healing journeys. As a thank you, when you leave a review, take a screenshot and email it to me at riva@windsofchangesac.com. I'll give you a free registration to our online trauma-informed breathwork circle for women held on Zoom every third Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's a powerful space for release, restoration, and real connection. Thanks so much for being here. Thanks so much for helping this work ripple outward. Until next time, take care of yourself and take care of each other. Fighting for the voice of the womb, clearing the pain from your womb, creating new life from your womb, rebuilding with the phases of the moon.